Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Craving Carnivore. Happy New Year, and welcome, Cathy. It's been a few weeks since I've seen you, and we're going to do a post-Christmas check-in, reality check. And right before I started record, I said to Cathy, I think this is week 19. And Cathy, what did you say?
I said, kind of, although I've lost 4 weeks.
And what I said to Cathy is, you haven't lost 4 weeks. It's a journey. So carnivore is a journey of discovering a new way of eating that goes against everything that you've been taught growing up. And when you first get on the journey, it feels like, oh, this is effortless. I'm never going to go back to the other way of eating. This is so easy. I felt that way for a year and a half. Cathy felt that way for 4 solid months. And then we both, for slightly different reasons, but also some of the same reasons, no Christmas, fell off the carnivore wagon. And I will let Cathy tell her story, but I have a story to tell as well about how it just feels impossible when you're in that place to get back into being strict and back to, just doing the things that you need to do to feel better. Because when you go off that way of eating, I've heard a lot of carnivore people talk about this in all the videos I watched for a year before I ever started carnivore. So I knew this would happen, but that doesn't matter, even though it'll happen. I went a year and a half before I had this walk on the wild side, and I talked about it, I think, in the last video before Christmas. But I didn't realize how bad it was because that was a slippery slope. And I was on the downhill side of the slippery slope. We'll go into more detail about our individual experiences, but I will say that just overall, my experience was that when you start eating carbs and sugar again, and in my case, also artificial sweeteners, it changes your brain chemistry. It literally changes your brain chemistry. Your whole outlook on life changes. You don't feel like it feels like that bandwagon, that carnivore bandwagon is off in the distance, and all you can see is the cloud of dust that is leaving behind. And you're like, I can't catch up with it. I'll never catch up again. That's part of carb brain. Those are carb goggles. That's what it does to you. And so just quick paraphrase, Cathy and I have just finished 3 days. Not that we're done necessarily. We'll talk about that in this video, but 3 days of lion diet because we needed to get ourselves back on track. We needed to get those carb goggles off. We needed to get the sweetener goggles off and just sort of reassure ourselves that we could, this was possible. And so Cathy, with that being said, I'm so glad to see you because I know that, you had mentioned in a text, you were feeling all the feelings about having gone off the wagon, and I was feeling the same thing. And so I said to you, let's hold hands and walk ourselves out of this pit we're both in. So for you, I think it started when you had your surgery because in the hospital, they don't have 0 carb keto as an option, And so they're giving you carbs and you don't have a choice. So you're down, you're injured, because you've had the surgery, you're recovering. And now you're getting carbs on top of it all. And it feels like, and that was right before Christmas. So it feels like that was the beginning of your slippery slope. Talk about that a little bit and what this last few weeks has been like for you.
Yeah, well, absolutely. The surgery, unexpected, the whole thing. So if you'd seen the previous video, I had a 13-hour attack on my gallbladder for no particular reason. I hadn't really done anything that was bad. It was during the day, which I don't normally have. And I managed for 13 hours because normally after about 9 hours, it starts to ease. And it got to 13 hours. I was like, this is getting worse. I can't go all night like this. So at 11 o'clock, I phoned the ambulance and went into hospital. And then I was on a holding pattern for the next 5 days or 4 days waiting for surgery. 5th day I came out. And so I was starved to the point of complete depletion because I had absolutely nothing in my stomach. I couldn't hold down water. So the attack ended up being sort of 4 days and managed through pain relief, and the staff were fantastic because I was on my own. because of course my husband was away and my kids fantastically managed everything while I was in hospital, because I've got 2 adult kids and 3 young kids. And it was very stressful. And, I navigated through all of that in hospital by myself because there was nobody available to come support me, which was probably good because I was in and out of consciousness the whole time. And so that, I feel like that had a much deeper impact on my emotions, on my mental health, and on my physical body more than I had anticipated, because you go into this survival mode and I was in excruciating pain. It was like nonstop vomiting. It was just horrific. Like, it was just really awful. And then of course you have the surgery, and that's a relief. And obviously my gallbladder, for anyone who doesn't know, was horrifically infected, which is why I'd had the attack out of nowhere and why it didn't get any better. And I had 2 gallstones, more than 2 centimeters in diameter. So they were playing havoc as well. And then you sort of come home and you think, okay, that's done. And I'm somebody that, my son was talking to me the other day and he said, Mum, I've never seen you like that. It actually affected my kids a lot deeper than I thought. My daughter's been in bed with me all week, every night. She's very tearful at nighttime. My other son, who's 12, spoke to me and said, Mum, I wasn't sure whether you were going to come home or not, because the older kids had sort of kept information from them, thinking they were protecting them, but then they were imagining the worst. And my 2 older kids cried when I went into hospital because I didn't do well with the previous surgery. So surgery for me is a big deal. And then my 16-year-old said to me the other day, he said, I've never seen you like that, Mum. He said, you're so stoic. He said, you could break your leg and then go, right, let's crack on with the house. Right, let's do this. Right, I've got to do this course. And he said, I've never seen you that vulnerable. So it's actually affected the kids a lot more than I thought it had, because obviously Dad was away at work. And they did do fantastically well, all of them. I'm very proud of them all. But it affected me a lot more deeply than I had anticipated. So my emotions were all over the place. My head was doing very strange things. So I think I was in shock, in all ways, like emotionally, physically, mentally. And then, of course, off the back of that, I had like a week being quiet because I was quite sore, because the operation, because of the infection, actually took twice the time it was supposed to take. I'm so glad it was keyhole. I'm so grateful that they persevered and were able to do keyhole. Otherwise, the recovery would have been worse. And then it was Christmas. So then you're sort of putting on a face and you're doing Christmas for the kids. And, my husband was amazing. He just finished a 90-hour week and he came home and he picked the pieces up, and he was so fantastic because it hit him hard as well, because he saw me and my recovery through my last surgery. And so it just hit us all a lot deeper than what I thought it did. And then you've got Christmas and all of the emotional attachment to Christmas and all the expectations of Christmas. And I think you're right. Like, in hospital, I hadn't pretty much eaten anything. I hadn't consumed anything for pretty much 5 days. I did consume things on the Wednesday, which obviously I vomited everything up, and then I wasn't able to eat. I wasn't able to drink because I was in this holding pattern waiting for surgery. And I was so depleted that when meals came, my mind was going, I'm carnivore. But my body was going, you got to get something in me. Like, I am struggling. I've got nothing. I was really weak. And so I wasn't even finishing the meals, which weren't big portions, because I was trying to have mostly the meat, even though it was in sauce, and a little bit of rice or whatever. And then I think that was kind of my slippery slope, because it knocked me off my impeccable record, which I was so proud of. And that comes with emotion and thoughts and an experience in itself. Anybody that feels like they're on the right path, and it really has. I know you and I are obviously great friends, and I've texted you many times going, oh my God, thank you so much for putting me on this path. I never thought it could be like this. And so I was in this high, and then to be knocked completely off, and to be so vulnerable and in pain and have it affect all of me. And then it was kind of a slippery slope. So you think, I'll just have one of my kids' Christmas biscuits, so I can just have one. And then it was like, I'll just have a little bit of this. I'll just have a little bit of that. And also, I had no motivation to get up and cook for myself. So obviously what the kids were cooking, I was like, cool, I'll just have that, because I was really depleted. I was exhausted. I was in pain. And so it kind of just escalated. But I have to tell you, I am an addict. Like, there is no other word for it.
We all are. We all are. Like, carb addicts. Yeah, it's carb addict. There are people in the world, I do believe, who can eat carbs without being addicted to them. I do believe that. Yeah. I've seen it with my own eyes. And they have made us feel our whole lives like they're the norm and we're not. And they're not the norm. I really understood like never before with what happened to me over, I gave myself permission to have some sweet stuff. Like, you know, in the last video, what I talked about was those, you know, that gift box that I got with all the delicious little things in it. And there was all that old behavior was still there. All of that old, like, I might as well eat the whole thing behavior,
Yeah.
you know? I was right there. I was shocked. Wow, that hasn't gone away. Oh my goodness, that was just waiting in the wings for me to just have my carb goggles on. Once I went on Dave Mack's interview on his show when I was interviewed last time. I talked about carnivore, like a brain transplant. You feel like you've had a brain transplant when you're on carnivore because all of a sudden you're like, I know cognitively that I used to have a problem. I know cognitively that I ate too much or that I ate the wrong things or that I ate all the time, even when I wasn't hungry, etc. Or I ate to comfort myself. I know cognitively, but I can't step into that brain right now. And it was like, yay, I have carnivore brain. It's like my carnivore brain transplant. Like I was suddenly one of those people that didn't have food issues. Effortless. And it just kept getting more and more over Christmas. Like I told myself, I'm going to have champagne on Christmas Day. And then I got invited to a Boxing Day thing. And I thought, well, I'm going to have champagne on Boxing Day. And then Christmas Eve, ended up getting together with a friend on Christmas Eve. And it was a really hot day here in Australia. You know, Christmas is usually pretty hot. And let's have a nice bottle of wine with she's like a borderline carnivore. So we had steak with prawns on it. But we had a bottle of wine and we split a bottle of wine together. So to go from hardly drinking anything, and I've never kind of had an alcohol problem, but it's a problem when you're drinking alcohol your body doesn't want. That's a problem. So I had half a bottle of white wine on Christmas Eve. I had probably over the course of the whole day, 5 or 6 champagne flutes of like Prosecco or whatever. And then probably the same on Boxing Day. And then I was going to let myself have sweets on Christmas Day. But one of my friends that I went to Christmas with, they had these little Lind chocolate balls. I was like, no, that's not it. It was like, I needed something else. And so the next day when we went to Boxing Day, walked in and this friend of mine had made a wreath of Rocky Road. Rocky Road's one of my very favorite things. And this was like exceptional quality Rocky Road. It had even gold leaf on it. It was just absolutely beautiful. And then someone brought Christmas cake, like the good kind, the kind that, you know, doesn't have, like, I don't like the bright neon fake cherries. You know, I like the kind with like real fruit and it's dark and it was made like 4 months ago and it was soaked in whatever. This was unbelievable. So I really just enjoyed, and I told myself, that's it. It's Boxing Day. And then I'm all good the day after Boxing Day. But I had taken my carnivore brain out and put in had put my carb goggles on, mixing metaphors, brain and goggles. And it wasn't so easy the next day. It wasn't effortless. And so while I went back, and then I was 3 days later, I think, I felt emotionally really low. That's what's really important to realize too. It's not just about, I can't get myself back on eating the way I'm supposed to. And I didn't go back. All I ate some sourdough. And then on like New Year's Eve, I had some wine, but other than that, and sourdough bread, that was it. Some sourdough bread, probably 2 or 3 times over the course of that week. And then wine New Year's Eve. The rest of it, I was eating carnivore, but I was doing things that were not healthy for me. So these are the behaviors I was doing in addition to that stuff. Eating too much, eating butter. I'd gone back to snacking on butter. That snacking behavior. I was drinking 1 or 2 no sugar Cokes per day. I was back to doing the element flavored, and I'll talk about what I learned from that, because all of this is learning. It's not about self-flagellation about it, because you learn something every time. One of the things that I learned is just because you've been carnivore a year and a half doesn't mean you aren't susceptible for going right into that hole of feeling like I tried every single day to kind of do clean again, like not snack on butter. Even though that's technically carnivore, I knew that was disordered eating because I was snacking. I wasn't hungry. and the sweeteners. And it was like every day I told myself I'm not going to do that anymore. And I would do it just today, just today, just today. And the whole time I'm emotionally feeling low and I'm exhausted and I'm feeling bad about myself. I'm criticizing myself for eating this way. And I'm also feeling like that carnivore bandwagon in terms of healthy carnivore is leaving me behind. And I'm trying to remember what it was like when I did the lion diet for the 6 weeks. And so that's when I said to you, when I found out you were having the same problem, and I just said, let's do it together. Let's do clean lion diet together. Let's just do 3 days. I said 3 days because I thought, let's not overwhelm ourselves with let's just try to get through 3 days, because I knew it was going to be hard for both of us. And I knew that we would make it worse if we tried to set some goal that was triggering, that felt like, to the part of us that felt, I'm drowning and I can't swim to shore. You don't want to tell that part of you, like, let's now go strict full on. We'd both been doing that with each other every single day, or I mean, with ourselves every single day for the last few weeks. So I knew that wasn't going to work. And it was like, when I got that text back from you saying, yes, let's do it. I was like, I felt this wave of relief go through me, because you need community. You need just to have someone to help you. And then once you're doing carnivore and you're back, you're back in the saddle, then it's like, oh, I'm fine. I don't need anybody. I can go great. But the reality is life throws you these curveballs. And so the emotional part you went into, because we tapped on this and we talked about it months ago, the anticipation about Christmas and doing all the Christmas things. So we haven't talked about this specifically, but I got the sense from your messages, your texts and so on, that you went really into you know what, it's Christmas. I'm just gonna eat whatever's here. I'm going to enjoy my Christmas. And you had framed it to yourself as, I'm going to be good to myself.
Not so much I was going to be good to myself. I was in a bit of crisis, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going with the flow. I didn't have the energy to fight's the wrong word, but I didn't have the energy to show up for myself.
Mm.
I was just so depleted in so many ways. I was exhausted before the surgery. My life was crazy, and I was fitting in so many things because, I didn't realize the kids started so early on their holidays. And then I was in meetings 8 to 1, rushing them out to do bowling. So they had some fun, rushing back and doing more meetings. So I was already tired. And then I think for me, it was the perfect storm. And then I just didn't have the energy to show up for myself. My stomach was really swollen from the surgery, especially the top half of my stomach. So that was quite depressing, sort of looking in the mirror going, what's going on with that? Because, my tummy was quite bruised and sore, and because they'd obviously done it for 3 hours. And they're rooting around inside your tummy. I mean, keyhole's great, but also they're still rummaging around inside you. You're still bruised and you still feel a bit yucky. And so I just sort of fell into that, and it is a hole. I mean, I was absolutely in addictive behavior. I was eating when I wasn't hungry. I was maybe looking for comfort. I don't know, but nothing was going to fill that hole. So you just keep going, keep going, keep going. The combination, everything, as I said, it was the perfect storm for me. But it's you sent me a video to watch, which was really helpful. And I have to tell you, even 3 days felt like a massive challenge. But I was
Which
like,
I
right,
knew.
well, I'm in it with
That's
Naomi
why I
now.
said,
I'm in it.
too.
I'm in it. We have to do it. We have to do it because we're doing it together.
No, it did to me
That
too.
was the lifeline. Yeah.
I said 3 days, not because I thought this will help Cathy. I said 3 days because I thought, if I try to conceive of more than 3 days, I won't be able to do it. I'll just keep putting it off because it'll feel too big.
Well, and because
So
every day I
3
was
days.
having the same conversation, starting off going, right, today's the day. And then, oh, well, that needs using up. So I better eat that because I don't want to throw it out. And then tomorrow, today's the day. Do you know what I mean? And but because I make this huge trifle for Christmas, and it's one of our family favorites. And I had some over Christmas. And then there was loads left. And of course, we were on our 3-day stint, and there was a portion left. And so I scraped it out. I put it in a bowl. I put some cling wrap on so that when my son comes home, he can have it. And I didn't have it But had we not been in our 3 days together, I'd have
Oh, yeah.
100% had that. Like I'd have inhaled it. There was just there's no filter there. And, you know, we were watching this video that you sent me, and they were saying about, you know, one of the ladies on there was an alcoholic, and another lady on there was a carb and sugar addict. And she was saying, I just want one of my grandkids' cookies and be able to go, that's it, that's all. That was lovely, darling. And then the lady who had been an alcoholic or is an alcoholic said, I won't go to a party, my grandson's 21st party, and have one shot because I know I'm an alcoholic and it's a slippery slope. And I was like, I mean, the thing is, we minimize the impact that this addiction has on us because it's normalized. You go into the supermarket, no one's thinking twice about what you're buying. I mean, maybe super health freaks are, but, you know, otherwise, you know, people are just grabbing food. It's called food. It's actually not food. We know this, right? It doesn't do anything for our, it doesn't satiate us. It doesn't fulfill us. It doesn't feed our brains. It's not food, right? It is not food. Food is, you know, things that are grown naturally and all of the, you know,
and don't have a barcode.
Designed, yeah, and don't have preservatives and numbers and all that sort of thing. So you want to go pure like whole foods. But yeah, I mean, I think the slippery slope over Christmas, and it's really been a month since my surgery. So for me, it's been a month of this horrible, dark, emotional, cognitively low, everything. It's just been a really complex month for me because I spent great time with my family whilst all the time feeling less than, feeling anxious, feeling out of control, feeling like a failure, all of those things. And I feel like if I hadn't have been knocked off by the surgery, I hope that I would have been okay. But with everything that happened, it has been a really tricky month for me to navigate through. Saying
Yeah.
that this is our third or fourth day.
Today's day 4.
Yeah. So
of
I
Lion.
haven't been full Lion because I took my kids to the movies and then I came out and the only thing I could source was chicken. So I had chicken on that day, but I was pleased. I didn't have any treats. I didn't have any popcorn, and it's all there. Or the smell is in the air of, you know, sugar. And I didn't have any of that. I was pretty clear. And even though I was still feeling tired, I wasn't feeling strong. And I think it's important to share that. Like, we can do this even when we're not at our best. Like, I had enough cognitive function
Barely.
to know, to know I cannot keep going like this, because the reason I got into this was as we all know, my health was absolutely in the toilet. Like, it was so bad. And I thought, I need to rein this in before it gets completely out of control and before I sabotage everything that I've achieved, right? And so I had enough cognitive function, but no willpower, no strength, no, not feeling emotionally buoyant. I was pretty low, but I think, as you were saying about community, my lifeline with you was, I can't get on the phone to Naomi and go, yeah, I had popcorn. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have not stuck to our agreement. So that was really the force that pushed me through those 3 days, was the agreement that we had with each other.
Me too. That accountability was a huge piece of it. And I mean, a year and a half into Carnivore, and I planned our Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that we were going to do Lion, because I knew, even though I didn't feel like it, I intellectually knew that I would feel more hopeful and have more motivation after 3 days. So if I just plodded through 3 days, then I could be in a better place, and it would just get better and better and better from there. So I knew I need like 3 days to get traction. For me in particular, and I'll talk about this in a second as well, what I learned about artificial sweeteners for myself, which is really interesting. I knew that if I could do that 3 days, and so I didn't plan anything else for the whole weekend. I just was like, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I am going to have to probably sleep a lot to resist the urge to go and snack. It was super hot too. Like Friday and Saturday were like outrageously hot. And then Sunday suddenly was 20 degrees cooler Celsius yesterday. And so I thought my only job for 3 days is to not succumb to the urges to just go, like I can tell you, here in Australia, for anybody watching that's not in Australia, January is summer school holidays. So a lot of people go on holidays in January and they don't come back till the very end of January, till after the Australia Day. I think it's the end of January weekend or something like that. It's somewhere at the end of January. I don't celebrate it, but that's why I can't really remember what it is, but it's a public holiday. And a lot of people come back to work after that. And so this is the kind of talk that was going on in my head. Well, I don't have to be full carnivore again until after that, because that's really the new year. I heard myself saying that and I was like, no, you can't do that. That's a slippery slope. Like that's giving yourself permission. Like I recognize the pathology of those kinds of thoughts. Another one was that comes up, like I think it's in Chinese astrology, it's year of the snake we've just come out of. And then I heard somewhere we're going into year of the fire horse, but that's not until I think it's January, like 26th or something like that, or January, I don't know. Somebody watching will know, but there's this date where it's like, so the new year doesn't really start. I'm like, well, I'm going to peg my discipline to the Chinese New Year, because obviously I'm Chinese, not. So I have that massive cultural appropriation. I'm just going to suddenly I'm going to put off my resolutions until the Chinese New Year. So I heard myself having all of these ridiculous, the carbs talking to me, the little carby devil, little Pillsbury dough devil on
Mine's
one
not
shoulder.
little. Mine's huge. Where with a megaphone.
Mine's little, and then it goes everywhere with me. I thought it was completely gone. I thought it was dead and buried from being on carnivore for a year and a half. So I'm here to tell everybody, your little carnivore devil is not dead and buried. Or not carnivore, your carb devil is not dead and buried. And I've heard other carnivores talk, like Dr. Ken Berry talks about cheese is his slippery slope. He goes, eat all the cheese you want. Cheese is carnivore. Absolutely. Knock yourself out. He goes, personally, I can't do it because the carbs in cheese, it's just enough. It turns me into he goes, I start behaving like an addict. The quantities and everything like that. And so, and those 4 people, the video that I sent you, Cathy, was this wonderful video, and I can link it below for people to watch it. And it was 4 longtime big carnivore influencer women who had were talking about the aftermath of trying the sugar diet. Just out of curiosity, just to because people were talking about how it burns fat and la, la, la. I think one of them tried it for like 3 days and went, ugh, I feel so disgusting. No way. And just ran back to carnivore. Another one was like, yippee. It was like me over Christmas. And then just ate all the things. And then I think for several months, and at the time of the recording of that video, she still hadn't got back fully on the carnivore wagon. And she was in deep shame and self-loathing. And this is someone who had lost, I think, over 100 pounds on carnivore and had a big channel and everything like that. And she just said, look, I got to be honest, I'm struggling. And then everybody else was like, okay, now we have permission to talk about how hard this is. And that's where the conversation went. And that was very, really eye-opening. And I think encouraging for people to watch that. And I really hoped that would encourage you and make you feel better, Cathy, because I know that you mentioned shame as one of the things. And I wanted you to know that to the extent that you can kind of decide not to feel shame, I think it can help you to know that it's the carbs that are doing what they're doing to you, that are taking away your willpower, that are making you do the addictive behaviors. Because I knew that was the case with me. And I just said, you don't have any control over it. The only way to get out of it is to just remove yourself from the grip of the carbs, which requires white knuckling your way through however many days it takes. And Cathy, in a way, when you started carnivore, you didn't have any withdrawal symptoms. No. You're having them all now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Delayed reaction. And I kind of, I didn't want to kind of say that, but I was thinking it.
I was thinking it 100%. I was like, yeah, well,
really?
karma.
Well, just your turn. Everybody has their turn where they get.
Here's the thing. And I feel like this is my perspective. Like I've had a steak for breakfast. I feel like I'm 85% solid back on carnivore. Like I'm
Me
the
too.
the carb head, the inner voice of, oh, what do we have? What do we have? What do we have? What do we have? It's calming, it's quietening. So I feel like I'm getting in control again. I feel calmer. I feel like, and I've set my goal for Christmas this year that I would love to look in the mirror and go, oh my God, yay, hooray. I've got a new year. I've got a whole year. This is amazing. So like my training wheels have come off sort of thing. But I feel like there's 3 states for me: clean, cloudy, contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
So clean for me is I'm carnivore 100%. I'm just eating all of the things that I know are good, that suit me, that I'm getting the results with. I feel calm. My anxiety's gone. I feel in control. I feel strong. I feel all those things. That's clean. Cloudy is occasionally I'll have a 75% dark Lindt chocolate, and I can cope with that. Like I can have that and go, oh, that's nice. I can satisfy that. Or I'll have a chocolate caramel element as a treat and go, oh, that was really lovely. I enjoyed that. That's cloudy. So that's not clean, but it's not horrific. It's like I can manage the cloudy and get back on the clean
Mm-hmm.
really easily. And then contaminated is what I've just come out of, which is just out of control. There's no rules. I'm completely rebelling against everything that's good for me. And it was quite shocking how quickly that took hold.
Yeah. And the thing is that it's compounded now, or it was for me, by I have this one voice saying, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to get back on the carnivore wagon. And another voice going, well, in that case, I better eat this now because that window's about to close.
Yeah, because then it will never exist again in the history of time,
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I think it's about making peace with that. And I feel like there's important chapter to navigate through. It was really, really hard to navigate through it. Like I was very, very low, and I don't do well. I'm pretty upbeat. I'm pretty positive. I'm that sort of person. And it really hit me quite hard. And I go quiet then. And so I withdraw and go inward and try and manage it. But I think it's good to be aware that, like an alcoholic, you don't have one shot. Do you know what I mean? Like you've really got to think. You've really got to, while you're in a strong position, try and make a strong decision, because once you go down that road, it is a slippery slope and it gets hold fast.
Yeah. And in terms of what I've learned exactly what you just said. I thought that going carnivore, certainly for a year and a half, had permanently altered my relationship to food, and it hasn't. And it's just that the food noise is stopped by not eating the things that cause the food noise. So I've learned that, so next Christmas, I won't be doing the same thing, because it comes with so many things. Like I felt physically bad. I felt tired.
Yeah.
I haven't felt tired in a year and a half. Hello.
How are your hands? Because I was thinking about you, because
yeah,
I
that
had
hurt.
body aches.
My hands
Full
were
body
awful.
aches. Yeah.
Terrible hands. My
Yeah.
arthritis came back. Yeah. No, the arthritis, I thought that's gone too. No, it's in remission until you eat sugar. And then bam, it came back. The exhaustion was there. Low mood. I mean, I haven't had low mood like that. Hopelessness. The feeling that it reminded me of how I felt for like my whole life about food, just feeling like here's me and my willpower. And then there's this giant monster of food, like that I'm no match for, like those influences and cravings, behaviors and things like that. And so that was a big learning for me that one of the big shifts that happened when I started carnivore, probably, a month in, 2 weeks in, even, I don't know, it happened pretty quickly, was that I stopped looking at that kind of stuff as food, that anything with a barcode, like chips and crackers and bread. And other than that, sourdough I would have every now and then, but I've learned my lesson about that. I've been slippery sloping that a little bit too much, having too much of it at a time. And I just thought, well, now I don't see it as food anymore, so it doesn't have that grip on me. But what I learned is that it's like a drug. you can know that that's not food, but when you actually ingest it, it does things to your body and brain chemistry that take you beyond the reach of your cognitive, your ability to kind of have willpower and make decisions easily. And so what I learned is that, there was this thing. I had an ex of mine was in AA, and he had this saying that the man takes a drink, the drink takes a drink. Like the man takes the first drink takes the second drink, and the third drink takes the man. And it was just, I thought that's, so we could do it with carbs. The woman takes the carb, or man, the first carb takes the second carb, and the third, or the first, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
The first carb takes, etc. And I was totally taken by the carbs. And I was shocked by how impossible it felt. Like I was at the bottom of a hole, and okay, I'm going to climb out now. I'm going to climb out now. I'm going to climb out. And I couldn't climb out, because when you eat those foods that are not even food, that stuff, let's call it that junk. It tastes great, by the way. Like that rocky road that I had, and all of that sweet stuff. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like, ugh, this is awful. It was delicious. I'm sure that trifle you made was amazing. I love trifle. I would have been right. I would have flown. If I'd known you had trifle, I would have hopped on a plane. Real
Yeah, it would have
English
been worth
trifle.
it.
I'm sure. I mean, I've made bad trifle and it's still delicious. Like, it's really hard. It's hard to make awful trifle, and then good trifle is just something else. I was enjoying it, but what was happening is that I started to have all those same out of control feelings. And even though now I still knew that it wasn't food, when you eat carbs, it makes your body want more carbs.
Oh, it's addictive. They've said it's 10 times more addictive than cocaine.
Yeah. And then let's officially not beat ourselves up. Everybody watching, let's officially agree we're not going to beat ourselves up. We are going, and you said it beautifully, Cathy, is when you're in a strong place, put the things in place to protect yourself from tripping into. It's like you would not say to a person, like for me to say to myself, next Christmas, you know what? I'm just going to allow myself, because I want to enjoy the holidays. I want to sort of do what everybody else does. I'm just going to have, like, if that friend of mine has made that rocky road again, oh my God, that was good. But I'm just going to have a reasonable small portion. Is no different than a heroin addict who's clean, saying, I've been clean for a few years now. I can just do, what do they do with heroin? They shoot it up. I'm just going to do half a syringe of heroin. Nobody would think that's a good idea, right? Because you go, oh, no, you're not actually in control. You're injecting something that's going to then run the show. And that's what happens with carbs. You are ingesting something that is then going to make the decision about the next thing you eat, the next thing you eat, the next thing you eat. And something really important that I learned is, and kind of what I was doing so great, two things happened that kind of precipitated. It wasn't just Christmas. I had a problem leading in like 2 months before Christmas. I was starting to kind of wobble. And the way I was wobbling was that I was starting to snack on butter again. I was starting to eat more than I needed, eat when I wasn't hungry, almost kind of compulsively. And I thought, oh my God, has that carnivore spell worn off? Like, it's not pushing away the things. And I was back drinking started drinking Diet Coke, which I hadn't done for 2 months since. I probably had one a week or one every 2 weeks until I did Lion Diet in June. I did 6 months of Lion Diet. I wasn't having coffee. I wasn't having tea. I wasn't having artificial sweeteners. And like 2 days into that, I was like, this is easy. And I was free of all of the addictions. Didn't even think about tea, coffee, none of those things. Didn't even think about it. I even started drinking decaf coffee again every morning, like ritualistically. I didn't know what was going on, but I was feeling like I was starting to kind of put weight on. I didn't weigh myself because I didn't want to freak myself out, but I was just not feeling good, and I didn't know what the problem was. One thing that happened was I got horrible leg cramp, like calf muscles cramps in the night. Oh my God. I think I talked about it in a previous video. Was I talking about it with you? My calf muscle seized up. You know what I figured out? Did I tell you it was caffeine? I figured out it was
Yes,
caffeine
the Coke, in the
because
Coke, yeah.
in the Diet Coke, the caffeine was blocking the magnesium absorption. I'd been carnivore for like a year and not had this. Why all of a sudden was I having this? So I switched to no sugar Coke.
And no caffeine.
Very, very little, hardly any caffeine.
Right, okay.
And the cramps went away. Haven't had the cramps since. So I was happily doing that, but it's getting to be summer, getting hot. I was having at least one, sometimes two no sugar Cokes a day. I have now figured out, and I'm going to do a separate video on this, but have you heard me talk, Cathy, about how artificial sweeteners, the science is not that solid yet about whether it affects you at all, but anecdotally, and there is some sort of preliminary scientific evidence that with some people it can cause your insulin to spike. And I just kind of was thinking, well, that's not a big deal because I'm doing so well. What I have discovered is that it not only was causing my insulin to spike, but it was causing me to do the carb-like behaviors. Eating when I'm not hungry, snacking on all the butter, eating way too much, wanting food when I emotionally, like I'm feeling a little down. In the last 3 days where you and I have been doing lion diet, and I haven't had, I've just salt and beef and water. That's it. I was aware of all the urges to like have a little bit of a butter snack, have a Diet Coke. Oh my God, I really wanted a no sugar Coke. After my first steak of the day, I was like, oh my God, I need some sweet now. And I clocked it that I was doing that. I was like, okay, I just need to get through this because what is that? What is needing sweet after a steak? Where'd that come from? So I was noticing all of these cravings and sort of unhealthy food prompts and behaviors starting to come up. By the end of yesterday, they had died down. I went through a mall yesterday and oh my God, it was just donut thing and blah, blah, blah. Cathy, if you and I hadn't been doing this 3-day lion diet, I would have been, oh, well, Chinese New Year's hasn't happened yet. I can have a donut. For sure would have done that. So I have discovered I can't have artificial sweeteners because it does the same thing the carbs do in terms of kind of awaken some unhealthy food behaviors. In the 3 days that we've done lion diet, I have only eaten beef. I've only eaten 2 meals a day. Haven't needed 3. Interesting. Haven't thought about food for the like 5 hours, 6 hours between steaks. And it's reassured me that I think even though I did the sugar and things over Christmas and stuff like that, I didn't go into just eat whatever you want. I was still, this is an important point, I think, to make for people, is that if you looked at my diet, you would say, well, she's still eating carnivore. She's having the last sourdough bread that I had was New Year's Eve. But what is it now? It's the 12th. And only since the 9th have I felt like, okay, the food noise is gone. It's going away. I'm feeling much more in control, like you, like 85% solid from 0. If you looked at what I ate between New Year's and like the 9th for that sort of week and a half, you'd go, well, that's still carnivore. Oh my God, she hasn't even had bread. She's drinking 2 no sugar Cokes a day. She's eating a lot of butter every day. She's eating when she's not really hungry. She's eating an enormous amount. She's starting to go, oh, well, I haven't had enough fat today. I'm going to go get some pork belly and put that in the air fryer, even though I just ate an hour and a half ago. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of crazy behavior. So yes, the food I was putting in my mouth was carnivore, but my reasons for putting that food in my mouth and the patterns were not healthy. And so, and that was the artificial sweetener that was doing that, because that's all gone. 3 days of no artificial sweetener, it's gone, which day 1 was sad for me to just go, oh, I just love a nice, refreshing, no sugar Coke on a really hot day. I really love that. That's really delicious. And, and I'm drinking Element unflavored, it's salty, it's refreshing, but it's not yummy refreshing. It's not exciting refreshing. And I thought, oh my God, does this mean I can't have like artificial sweeteners again? That's what I realized, that I didn't know how long we were going to be lying on this, whether it's going to be 3 days or whether at the end of 3 days we were going to go, okay, what are we going to do now? Are we going to keep going lying? But I knew I wasn't going to be able to go back to artificial sweeteners. And I was sad for at least that whole day, half of the second day. And then by yesterday, the cravings for artificial sweeteners was gone. This morning, I don't even care. I can talk about, what if someone said, Naomi, you're never, ever, ever going to have another no sugar Coke, another artificially sweetened drink ever again in your whole life. And I would go, okay, because I'm out of the addictive grip of it. And so I just have to learn, don't do it again, because it could grab a hold of me. And then it cascades into this whole chain reaction. So it's about learning. And I already feel better physically. I had a really big gut that was starting to happen on me. Just distended. I felt bloated. This blouse, I put this blouse on about a week and a half ago, and it was loose when I stand up, but when I sit down, it was really tight across my belly. So I couldn't wear it. I had to take it off and put something else on. It's back to kind of being looser now. Oh, I've spilled something on there. So it's back to where I can wear it, and it's not. So my body's already responding in just 3 days. My body is already responding and calming down, as well as my mental state calming down. Are you noticing a difference in terms of just inflammation having been lying for 3 days?
I'm still achy in my body. So I think there's
Mm,
still inflammation there. It might take a couple of weeks to come out because with my autoimmune stuff, I naturally am an inflammatory person anyway.
mm.
I did, like, people looking at me over Christmas would not have thought she's eating carnivore. So I was completely different to you. I was completely off the wagon, completely. But I think as well, what was interesting is your 3 days was very much about rest and reset and recalibration. And my 3 days was really busy. And I think that's my way of coping. I think if I'd have been laying around, I wouldn't have been able to do that. So I do feel
Interesting.
tired, but
Yeah.
I think it was good. I mean, look, it's school holidays. I'm taking my kids out. I'm doing this, I'm doing that because it's their holidays. We don't go away. So I try to put as many fun days in as I possibly can around my
Mm-hmm.
work. And yeah, so I just feel that it's a process that's different for everybody. So, I mean, at the moment, I still am having the sweetened elements. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that. So I'm obviously not somebody that it affects.
Yeah.
But I mean, the body aches have been horrendous. My mood has been
Mm.
low. My emotions have been all over the place. I felt a lot of really destructive thoughts of like really, and I think it does come with surgery as well. When you have I think my body was in shock. My system was in shock, but I've been like completely rethinking my whole life. I've said to you, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to do that. You know, I've been saying to you, sharing
Mm.
stuff going, and it's vulnerable and it's low, but I'm like, that's where I am right now. I'm still working through it. So it might
Yeah.
take me, you know, I feel like I'm back on the road, but it might take me
Which is good.
2 or 3 weeks to feel back on track. Because I
Yeah.
was not eating carnivore with a bit of extra butter and a few sweeteners. I was off, completely off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a
Yeah.
slightly
And
different thing.
it is slightly, I mean, it's the same in the way that we both realized that we have the addiction is still there, but also it's not that we're broken. It's that our bodies, I don't know, this is an analogy, but cigarette smoking, for example, nicotine is, I think 20% of people cannot become addicted to nicotine because you have like, they can tell by looking at your DNA. It's like you've got a defect in one of your genes that prevents you from being able to become addicted to nicotine. And those people are the people that smoke just for the whatever, the distraction of it.
Social.
And the second
I used to do
social,
that socially when I was young. And then I just one
me
day went,
too.
I'm not going to do that again. So
Me
it's done.
too.
Yeah.
Me too. And because, so you would be in that 20% along with me, that you make the decision of like, actually, this is really bad for me. I need to grow up. I'm not going to do it anymore. And you just stop and there's no withdrawal symptoms. There's nothing, nothing, nothing. And then the rest of the people, the other 80% of people go through these horrible withdrawals and it complicates it and everything like that. And so I think it's this similar to carbs where there might be someday discovered a genetic factor at play, where some people just can't. Some people, it's like that 20%. Maybe there's 20% of people that can eat carbs and make a decision, oh, you know what, I need to smarten up the way I eat. And then they just are able to do it without a lot of drama. But you and I, no, we're in that percentage, that majority, I'm going to say, who just, I think you and I are humbled now. We are now humbled before the power of carbs. And we will be back in that the carnivore brain transplant has begun. We will be back in it. It's just put one foot in front of the other and just keep doing what we're doing. What is your plan? Are you going to stay predominantly lion and for how many days? Do you want to extend and just keep extending our kind of the formal structure, or how do you see that?
Well, I was always primarily lion before anyway. So probably just back on track with that. I do feel I have enough strength in me now to be back on carnivore.
Momentum. You got that momentum going.
Yeah, just, you know, I don't feel, I mean, the trifle's still in the fridge. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to have that. I mean, do I want it? Still, yes. But am I going to have it? No. So I've got that strength, that level of strength back, that level of filter back, which I didn't have before. And so I feel like I'm back on track. And look, you know, my body, Naomi, has been so achy and just heavy and sore. And you know, when you feel like you're coming down with flu, like that achy joints, the achy muscles. That's how I felt. Like it's felt really rough. And I mean, I was just thinking very quickly before we finished, when you were talking, 2 films popped into my head, not carnivore films, but relevant to what we're talking about. And one was that sugar film where he has the same amount of calories in health foods that he did before in whole foods. So he didn't increase his calories. He just swapped where the source of the calories. And he went through everything we're talking about. He went through brain fog. He was snappy. His moods changed. He was low. His health deteriorated significantly in a matter of weeks because he had everything measured. So if you haven't seen the sugar film, I would suggest that you go and have a look at that because it's super interesting. And the other one I saw it's on Netflix. It's about the microbiome of your stomach. And they're now calling your stomach the first brain, not the second brain. And one of it was, they were talking about, and I'm sorry, guys, if you're eating, pause, because I'm going to say something gross. But they were talking about fecal transplants. And there was this lady who needed a fecal transplant. And at first she was sourcing that from her partner, her romantic partner. And they were doing it in the kitchen. Like I was like, oh my God, this is really full on. They were doing it themselves at home. And so first she was having it from her partner, and then something happened and they couldn't, whether he was sick or something happened, I can't remember. And so she switched to her brother, and she got depression from the fecal transplant because her brother has depression.
Yeah.
And so the connection, I think, going through this and seeing how it sent my life really out of control. Like I've been reclusive. I've shut down. I've been quiet. I've wanted to keep myself to myself. I've been questioning all of my life choices, amazing opportunities that have come through. And I've been like, I don't think I've got the energy to do that. I don't think I've got the motivation. You know, everything in my life is messed up. And so it made me think of those 2 movies where you look and you see the actual impact in real time on these people. And you think we really need to take our gut microbiome seriously. And again, like you, I believe everybody has their own path. So some people thrive as vegans, apparently. That's amazing. Some people, I was vegetarian for 10 years, although I didn't, looking back now, I realized I didn't really thrive on it. But this isn't the way for everybody. It's the way for some people. And we're certainly not trying to convert anybody. We're just talking about our journey on this particular pathway so that other people can get more informed. I think it's important we have these real, raw, honest conversations. Like it's not all sparkles and rainbows, guys. Like there's some tough times. But I do feel like it's more than weight loss. It's more than an eating regime. It's how calibrated do I want my body and mind and emotions and my presence, my energy, my intelligence? Like, is my intelligent brain online right now? No, it hasn't been. You know, it's just coming back now. I was having a conversation with part of my team yesterday, and they were talking to me, and I was like, yeah, but I can't do that and this and this. And they went, babe, you're talking about a completely different day. And I'm like, interesting. And I just had to do a voicemail. I went, I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm coming out of a tricky time. I'm just coming back online with everything. But it has cost me, Naomi. It's cost me in so many different ways. It's not just about eating. It's about the way
Yeah.
it's affected my life in every micro incident, micro feeling, everything compounded. It's had a massive impact on me, detrimentally.
Well, we both have gone from looking at things with barcodes, processed foods and carbs as being important, the old food pyramid paradigm, to then realizing it's not really food and we don't see that. We don't see carbs as food, to now, I think it feels like we now, when we walk down the aisle at the grocery store, or you look in the fridge and you've got things for your kids, and it's got the
If it's
barcode stuff
pink
or the sweet stuff,
or
or if
purple
it's pink
green,
or purple,
yeah, the
it
colorful
ain't.
packages.
unless it's me, unless it's
It's
rare
got a-
meat, then it can be
It's
me.
got a plastic toy in it. Don't get it.
Oh, now if it's got a cartoon character on the package, no. If it's got a package, no.
Yeah.
But we have gone now from this experience that we've had, this little walk on the wild side, which we both had at the same time, even though you're 4 months into carnivore and I was a year and a half in. It's not just that I look at carbs now as being not food. I now look at carbs as being emotional unwellness injections.
It's
It's
dangerous.
It's actually dangerous. So it's like, when you look at that trifle in the fridge, previously it would have been, all I can focus on is that there's no nutrition, there's no energy in that, it's just empty calories, it's going to spike my insulin, la la la. But you're not really thinking about it's way worse than that, what that trifle can do. It's way worse.
Well,
It can actually hijack your brain.
It hijacks it in not allowing you to think long term.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at that trifle, you're thinking that is going to taste so good. I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to breathe it in. I'm going to roll it around my mouth. It's going to be so amazing. But you're not thinking, but I'm not going to be at my goal at Christmas, right? Because you can't think like that. Whereas having 3 days back on, I can look at that trifle and go, that would be yummy, but it's not going to help me with my goal. And this is my goal. And this is where I want to go. So that has come back online to me. That an ability to have that long-term goal and make decisions on that long-term goal has come back online.
That is beautifully said. It's like a fork in the road. When you're on carnivore, you can clearly see, if I have that trifle, it takes me in this direction. And a year from now, when I go in this direction, I'm not a size 10 at Christmas time next year. So you go, I prefer to stay on this road. Whereas it's such
you
so
have
well
the
said.
ability to make a decision, though. You have the ability to make
you
the
have
decision.
ability to look ahead of you and see these are two roads that are going to lead in two different directions, whether in the short term, it's going to lead to emotional instability, or the long term, it's going to lead to not being anywhere near the size I want to be next Christmas. But when you're eating the carbs are so seductive because they take away all of that ability to see down the road. You can't see the future. I love that. That is fantastic. I had not thought about that, but it does. It says, don't look at the future.
Yeah.
Don't look at the future. Just look at now. Look at my eyes. Look how good this will be. Just think about how good that'll be in your mouth. And you go, well, presence is important, being in the present moment. The carbs just want me to do that.
Yeah. I'm really evolved because I'm living in the moment.
Oh my God. That is fantastic. Well, I am so relieved for both of us. And thank you so much for holding my hand over this last 3 days of getting back on track. I'm feeling so much better. And I'm so happy that you're feeling better too. And I look forward to, I'm going to stay pretty much lion. I might do, because I want to experiment with sardines. And I'm going to have raw, sashimi. A friend is doing a Japanese restaurant, and I could easily I will have a steak beforehand, because they don't have anything that's, that isn't just, they don't have barbecue meat at this particular restaurant. It's a very bougie restaurant. And I've been there before. There's really only one thing I can eat, which is the sashimi platter, but it's delicious. I am going to have that. So really that, and I want to really try the sardines.
Well, we
Going to
need
try
to
them in
talk
the air
about that.
fryer.
Let's do that together. Let's do the sardines together and
Yeah.
see how we go.
I think maybe I'm going to experiment with how to cook sardines. I'm not going to have the pressure that I'm just going to eat them for 3 days. I'm going to just experiment maybe 2 or 3 times this week. I'm going to do sardines like I've been seeing online because, my algorithm is showing me ways to prepare sardines. So I'm going to experiment with that. You might want to do the same. You have an air fryer now. And then when
Thanks
you're
to my
ready,
glamorous friend.
your fairy godmother, your air fryer godmother, and you're going to want to experiment with that with like chicken wings and pork and bacon and stuff like that. And I do want to go back to I want to have pork like 3 times a week because of B1. It's important you can get B1 from pork and get the iodine from the seafood. But other than that, I'm lying. I literally yesterday, I went and got a really good deal on whole primals and cutting them up and vacuum sealing them and doing all that stuff. We will next time we meet in a week, we will talk about maybe planning a 3-day sardine fast. Cause I don't know if you've watched any videos about the effects of that. I talked about it with you and I had that interview with Sarah talking about it. I really, really do want to do it. And I would have tried it by now if it hadn't been for this Christmas, but we needed this reset. We needed this, the learning that came. And so I'm just so glad that you're back on track. I'm glad I'm back on track. I'm glad we could help each other get back on track. I hope this helps anybody watching who needs to get back on track because it's 2026. And with that, please like this video and subscribe to my channel to get updates so you don't miss next week's video. And Cathy, have a great week. I'll see you
Thank you.
next week. See everybody else next week. Bye.